Question: will President Trump avert war with Iran like he did with North Korea? Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it on today's edition of Trunews. This is True News. I'm Rick Wiles. Just as nuclear war on the Korean Peninsula has been averted, the possibility of war in the Middle East has seriously worsened in recent days. First, an unknown nation fired missiles into Syrian military bases on Sunday night. It is suspected that the aggressor nation is Israel, and that the Jewish nation had the full support of the United States to carry out the bombing of military installations in northern Syria. No nation has taken responsibility yet for the bombing. The powerful explosions triggered a magnitude 2.6 earthquake in the area. Over 18 people were killed and 60 wounded. Most of the casualties were reported to be Iranian military and Hezbollah militia soldiers. Iran has moved thousands of troops into Syria to defend Syria from the U.S.-backed army of jihadists who were mobilized by the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel to topple the government led by Bashar Assad. According to some reports in Israel, one of the targeted sites on Sunday night was a base known as Brigade 47. It allegedly is an underground missile production facility and depot for surface-to-surface missiles. There were also unconfirmed reports that an Iranian army general was killed inside Brigade 47. Another unconfirmed report claims Israel used bunker-buster bombs to strike the base, which is built deep inside the mountain. Earlier on Sunday, Israel's Warhawk defense minister, Javi Lieberman, told the Jerusalem Post that Israeli military operations inside Syria will continue unabated. He warned that if Syria, Iran, or Russia tries to stop Israel from bombing Syria, Israel will retaliate against any air defense system that attempts to shoot down Israeli warplanes that are bombing Syria. In recent weeks, a number of high-level U.S. military intelligence and diplomatic officials have visited Israel. Former U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Dan Shapiro, tweeted on Monday that he was certain that today's events were coordinated between the U.S. and Israel. He cited Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's visit to Israel and President Trump's phone call to Benjamin Netanyahu. Syrian President Assad said Monday that the U.S. and Western powers are now aggressively redrawing the map of the Middle East. He said the U.S. and its allies have switched from a proxy war to openly bombing Syria after the Syrian army defeated the U.S. in their country. On Monday night in Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu conducted a live national television program during which he accused Iran of lying about its nuclear program. He said Israel was in possession of mountains of evidence proving that Tehran had for years worked on developing nuclear weapons. He also accused Iran of pursuing such weapons after pledging to Barack Obama and other world leaders not to continue its nuclear warhead development program. Touting a great intelligence achievement, Mr. Netanyahu said Israel acquired 100,000 secret Iranian files on its nuclear program. Mr. Netanyahu said the 55,000 pages and 55,000 electronic documents had been secreted out of an archive in the Shorabad district of southern Tehran. He said few Iranian citizens had knowledge of where the files were stored. Speaking in English, the Prime Minister said on TV that the half-ton of materials included incriminating documents, charts, blueprints, photos, videos, and presentations. He said the material was shared with the U.S. government. Here's a video segment of Mr. Netanyahu's speech to the Israeli people on Monday night.
The Iran deal, the nuclear deal, is based on lies. It's based on Iranian lies and Iranian deception. 100,000 files right here prove that they lied. So here's the bottom line. Iran continues to lie. Just last week, Zarif said this.
We never wanted to produce a bomb.
Again?
We never wanted to produce a bomb.
Yes, you did. Yes, you do. And the Atomic Archive proves it. The nuclear deal gives Iran a clear path to an atomic arsenal. It does so because it gives them the three components that are necessary to produce this arsenal. First, unlimited enrichment in a few years. And they plan to do that. They plan to have several 100,000 advanced centrifuges with which they can enrich mountains of uranium for that core that I showed you before, for many, many such cores. Second, it completely fails to address Iran's continuing development of ballistic missiles. And third, and this is new, it completely fails to address Iran's secret nuclear bomb program and its advanced work on weaponization. We just did. So this is a terrible deal. It should never have been concluded.
Well, Doc Burkhardt and Edward Zaw are here to discuss the ramp up to war in the Middle East. Gentlemen, I want to break this into two parts. I want to first talk about the attack on the Syrian military bases Sunday night, and then we'll talk about Mr. Netanyahu's amazing PowerPoint presentation to the Israeli people, indeed to the world, because it was carried live on networks around the world.
Well, that was quite an explosion Sunday night.
That's what I want to talk about. 2.6 magnitude earthquake.
Yes.
What would cause an earthquake after a bombing?
Well, it could either be a bunker buster, like some of the sources are claiming, or a cruise missile strike, or the explosion of the munitions themselves, because they're claiming 200 missiles were blown up inside this underground facility near Homs. So you look at the attack here, Rick, I can't help but wonder if it was any other country other than Israel here, because we know there's an established deconfliction line between Russia and the United States, that any attack, especially a major operation like this, has to go through that first before the attack is carried out. Israel's not part of that agreement.
Okay, so a lot of people are speculating that Israel had the green light from the U.S. government. Mike Pompeo, now the Secretary of State, is in the Middle East. He was in Israel meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. He was... did he meet with Javi Lieberman or Benjamin? I think he met with Javi Lieberman. I'm not sure. But then President Trump talked to Benjamin Netanyahu on
phone
over the weekend. And so you've got Dan Shapiro, former U.S. ambassador to Israel. He's saying, look, this has all the signs of being coordinated between the U.S. and Israel. Now, interestingly, no nation has taken responsibility for the bombing.
Not even Israel.
Not even Israel, but they seldom do. But even more interestingly, no nation has blamed Israel or the United States.
Now, why do you think that is?
Because I think, Doc, we're getting so close to open warfare that all sides right now are being extremely careful in starting World War III. If you brag that you just attacked another nation,
right?
All right, you're now being set up. You're setting yourself up to be blamed for starting World War III. If you accuse another nation of carrying out an attack, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to respond?
Right. That's the question.
You have to make a decision, because if you don't respond, you look weak. And if you do respond, well, who are you attacking? If the United States carried out the attack, Is Iran going to retaliate against the United States?
Well, I think that question was asked as those planes, if they were planes, were coming across Homs and near Damascus. Because think about this, the conversation last week was, could Russian air defense systems currently in possession of the Syrian army or the Russians themselves be used in the next attack in Syria? Well, from what we saw here, we haven't got any reports of any downed aircraft or downed cruise missiles. I think officers had to make a split-second decision as this was happening on Sunday, if, as you said, they wanted to be known as the people that kicked off World War III.
To me, what happened Sunday night, this attack, is Israel has taken the gloves off. This is no longer a proxy war. Israel's been bombing Syria, what did we say, 100 times over the last 5 years. Syria has never retaliated. Israeli planes go in, they bomb something, they leave. All right, now this is becoming a state of open warfare between it's like Syria is now just the sideshow.
Right.
The real war is Israel versus Iran.
Right. So Syria is just the battleground between these two powers.
As we've said many times, there would be no Iranian soldiers in Syria had Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama not started the war.
Yes. Right.
So I don't know whether the strategy backfired or whether the strategy is working. Because, I mean, it's possible you could just say, hey, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton's foreign policy backfired. And look at the mess that's you've got right now.
Or we're on track for that.
Or that's the other option. It didn't backfire. It's working exactly the way they wanted it, which is the world is being prepped for war between the United States, Israel, and Iran.
Right.
Well, that would explain the absurd decision by the Barack Obama administration to give $1.8 billion in cash to the Iranians. Think about that doesn't make any sense, other than them potentially propping up that nation, giving them the money they needed to spend on these guerrilla fighters in Syria, or even a missile program they knew would antagonize the Israelis.
You know, Edward, I don't know if you were on our team when I said this, but I remember saying several years ago that the Obama deal with Iran was so crazy, so bizarre, that nobody in their right mind would commit to a deal like that. I almost said sign, but you know, nobody signed the deal.
No,
right.
It was never
there are no
completed.
signatures on the deal.
But cash did transfer.
All right. And I remember saying one time, the craziest idea I can come up with is that the U.S. is deliberately giving Iran the wildest, craziest deal anybody could ever get. And then the deal is so favorable to Iran.
Yes.
That we're going to later say, you violated it. We gave you everything you asked for. We gave you more than you asked for, and you did not live up to the deal.
Right.
Setting a trap, basically.
We're setting the trap. So is that what's happening? Because when I said it a couple of years ago, it sounded pretty crazy and wild. But now I'm looking at this saying, is that what is playing out right now? Because what Mr. Netanyahu's PowerPoint presentation, all right, and if we don't have anything else to say about the Syrian strike, let's talk about the presentation. Unprecedented. Here's the head of state giving a PowerPoint presentation on why we're going to have World War III. Isn't that literally what we were doing today?
That's exactly what happened. And it was a show. That's what it was. I mean, he ripped the blanket off the shelves, showing all the 55,000 documents and all the CDs. I don't guess they have flash drives or hard drives.
Do you know what Benjamin Netanyahu's job was before he was prime minister?
Well, he was the press secretary, right?
Well, he was propagandist. He was a propagandist for, I forget which prime minister, but he's very good. He's very good at public, we'll call it public relations, all right?
But everything that he presented today was from the plans that Iran had from back in the 90s up to 2003. And this is information that, like, the IAEA already had.
This is old stuff.
Right. So why did he do this today, Rick?
Because President Trump last year set May 12 as the deadline. Why did he set May 12?
But he actually,
all right, well, tell me. I mean, a year ago, President Trump told his administration, we're going we're going to make a decision by May 12, 2018. Why May 12, 2018?
Well, this was actually pushing it to the marker where it was actually an extension. It was a 90-day extension because he didn't want to be the one that made the decision at the time, because we saw a decision make on the potential move of the embassy to Jerusalem. There were still some things that need to be put into place. Since that position, we also look at the other agreements that were made with Saudi Arabia and other nations in the region. We pumped them up with various military assets. So I don't think America was in the position yet to potentially start a war with Iran.
Why do you think, Rick?
Well, I don't know the answer, but what Mr. Netanyahu was doing on television in Israel was making the public case of why President Trump should withdraw from the Obama deal.
So was that presentation not for the Israeli people or even the American people, but for President Trump? Is that what
it was for the American people. He spoke in English. I mean, he's giving a speech to the Israeli people. He spoke in English. Who was he speaking to?
So he's making the presentation to the American people.
It was carried on Fox News, CNN. It was carried on networks, Great Britain and so forth. It was done in English. So there was a purpose for it. It's a public. This is public relations to pressure politicians in the West withdraw from the program. It's going to infuriate Iran. We're now back to where we were a couple years ago. And where were we? Benjamin Netanyahu was pressuring, and we'll just say Israel. Israel has been pressuring U.S. presidents, President Bush, President Obama, and now President Trump, bomb Iran. That's what they've wanted now.
And so they have to kill the Iran deal first before they can really proceed with that.
Well, they were totally opposed to it, and rightfully so. It's like, we all agree the deal is ridiculous. It's stupid. And so they opposed it to start with. But if they can get President Trump to come out of this deal, now the U.S. is back where we were before, and we have this situation. Iran's going to say, hey, we're free to go build a bomb. All right? I personally think Iran has nuclear warheads. I believe that years ago. 15 years ago, I was saying, look, they already have the nuclear warheads. This is ridiculous that we're talking about. They're developing. So the pressure is going to be on. What are you going to do about it? So are we going to bomb Iran? Israel wants us to destroy Iran.
Right. Well, immediately after Benjamin Netanyahu's address, there was a press conference that the president had with the president of Nigeria. And the president actually spoke toward the Iran deal, and we have a clip of that as well.
Okay, let's watch it.
They're not sitting back idly. They're setting off missiles, which they say are for television purposes. I don't think so. So we'll see what happens. I'm not telling you what I'm doing, but a lot of people think they know. And on or before the 12th, we'll make a decision. That doesn't mean we won't negotiate a real agreement. This is an agreement that wasn't approved by too many people. And it's a horrible agreement for the United States, including the fact, Mr. President, that we gave Iran $150 billion and $1.8 billion in cash. Nigeria would like some of that. $1.8 billion in cash and $150 billion. You know what we got? We got nothing. We got nothing. So that doesn't mean I wouldn't negotiate a new agreement. We'll see what happens. But I think, if anything, what's happening today and what's happened over the last little while and what we've learned has really shown that I've been 100% right.
Rick, before the program today, we talked about, imagine a year ago if we had a conversation that a year ago from this past week, that we would have seen the leaders of North and South Korea walking hand in hand talking about the end of the Korean War. We would have said, are you crazy? Is it possible that we could see peace in the Middle East as a result of all this?
I've been thinking about this all day, Doc, that all right, we know the Israelis want war. All right, so that's a given. They want the U.S. to take out the Iranian government. They've been pressuring and pushing for war. They're trying to bait President Trump to go into war. It didn't work with the other presidents. They're hoping that he will be the one that will go to war. That does not mean President Trump is going to take the bait and be led into World War III.
Right.
3-4 months ago, we were on the edge of nuclear war with North Korea.
All right. Now,
Last week, we witnessed the most surreal thing I've seen since the Berlin Wall fell, and that is Kim Jong-un walking over the DMZ, hugging the president of South Korea. It's like, what just happened? Okay, two things brought it about. The prayers of the saints,
I agree with
the
that.
Christian prayers, the Christians in North Korea, South Korea, the United States, worldwide, praying for peace, praying that the people calling for war would be suppressed. God answered our prayers. And then President Trump's strong leadership, where Kim Jong-un knew this guy means business. He's going to bomb me. He's not going, Kim Jong-un was going to bed sleeping with one eye open. He's looking around for U.S. commandos coming into his bedroom and putting a bullet in his head. He didn't know what was going to happen. Right. And I think Kim Jong-un, how old is the guy? What is he?
I think he's in his 30s.
30s?
Yeah.
I think the guy just wants to go to Disney World. I don't think he wants to be a dictator. I think he just wants to go to Disney World. He wants to go to the movies. I think he's tired of being a dictator. He doesn't want to be like his father and his grandfather. I think he said, you know what? I want to change. I don't like this role. Now the question is whether the hardliners in North Korea are going to let him live.
Right.
Because they may view him as a traitor. I mean, they've been worshiping him as a god, and now he's going to go back and say, well, I'm not a god.
But
right.
We have seen a dramatic change in North
Korea.
Korea.
We saw the change.
Can we see that dramatic change in the Middle East?
And I just read today that there's a possibility that the railroad that's being built from Russia into North Korea may go all the way down into South Korea.
Yes.
All right. Amazing things happening. So the question is now, can President Trump, if the Christians
I know where you're going
do not pray for war in the Middle East. We've got Christians in this country that want war.
Yes.
They want war. They want all of Israel's enemies destroyed, and they want war. That is not a Christian position.
Not at all.
The Christian position is peace. And we must be the peacemakers.
Yes.
We need to be praying for peace. And then let's pray that President Trump has wisdom and that he is able to do with the Iranian leaders what he did with the North Korean leaders.
Wouldn't the best situation, I ask this for any of our viewers, the best situation of all, for no one else to die?
Absolutely. How much blood do people want? You not have all you people want war. Is there not enough people have died in the past year? I mean, let's try
Praying
a season
for peace.
of peace.
Yes.
A season of peace. I was thinking of President Eisenhower. Here's a warrior, commander of U.S. troops, Allied troops in World War II. But we didn't have war during his administration. Yes, the Korean War, he inherited it, but he ended it in his first year. And we went through the 8 years of the Eisenhower administration with no war.
Right.
But he was a warrior.
Yes. Because he'd seen the bodies.
That's right.
He'd seen the blood.
And right now, we've had nonstop war since 2001. Nonstop war. Tell me, why are we in Afghanistan? Who are we fighting? What is it about? Why are American men dying in Afghanistan? Nobody knows the answer.
No.
Why are we in all these wars? Because we have a war machine, a war party. It's a war party in this country, and they want war. But the Christians, we need to be the peace party. We need to be praying that peace prevails. And I'm going to be praying that President Trump and other world leaders are given wisdom by God.
Yes.
And that they're not hearing the voices of demons talking to them, that they hear the wisdom of God, and that war is averted, and that we have a season of peace in the Middle East. We know where this is going eventually. We know, at some point, for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled, we know there are horrible things that are going to happen.
But it doesn't have to happen today.
It's not for us to accelerate it.
Yes. And yes, there are Christian Zionists who are trying to accelerate these things.
I think God's a VCR.
Yes. Yeah, they think we can fast forward God. If we just help get a war going, that'll help these things happen, And that's insane thinking?
You said something, whatever you bomb, you
Comes
shall
back
also
to you.
come back to you. Is it coming back home to us? We've seen reports here lately that there are a lot of GOP congressmen that have decided that they're not running for office again.
Well, that's a good point. Congressman Mo Brooks made this statement. I think it was rollcall.com carried it, that the reason that so many Republican members of the House and Senate are not running for re-election is that they fear being assassinated.
Yes.
Now, Doc, you guys can attest that I said this. A year ago, I said, when we get to 2018 midterm elections, Republican congressmen will be assaulted and some of them being killed while they're campaigning. Did I say that?
You said that, and doing further research today, that was deadly accurate. There's actually one case where a congressman found a bullet in his bumper of his car. It was an attempt basically on his life. He didn't even realize it happened. But this happened in 2017.
Well, Congressman Scalise found some bullets in his bones.
That's right.
I mean, that was an attempted mass massacre of Republican congressmen on that ball field. And that got covered up. That was a Democratic Socialist activist, Bernie Sanders supporter, who went there to kill Republican congressmen. And that's when I made that statement, that in 2018, they're going to this revolution, this communist revolution. And that roll call article said that there are Republican congressmen who now fear that there is a malice, a Chinese malice-like communist revolution brewing in America. Well, they must be watching True News. We've been talking about it for years.
They're right. There is one brewing. It's here now. It's not brewing.
It's
here.
Absolutely here. So this is another thing for the body of Christ to be praying about. We need to pray that these revolutionary forces in America are suppressed.
Yes.
That their plots are exposed. That what they plot in darkness will be shouted from the housetops.
Yes, amen.
We need to pray for law enforcement, that police officers and investigators will discover their plots.
Yes.
We just need to pray that there's peace in our land.
Amen.
Not just peace in other lands, but peace in our land. Because the enemy is trying to bring war, disruption, revolution, and we can sit here and talk about it all the time and analyze it. But once you know what's happening, you got to get on your knees and start praying about it.
There's no substitution to it.
That's right. We can change the course of events with our prayers. God will respond.
We changed it in North Korea. I believe prayers change that. It can change in the Middle East and it can change it here at home.
Absolutely. Well, my friends, hey, I want you to know True News is expanding. 1 week from today, we will actually, Monday, May 7, we will expand to a 2-hour format. And so we will be putting on our website this week the networks that will be carrying the 2-hour program and the times. Please check out truenews.com and pray for us and support us. God bless you. We'll see you on tomorrow's edition of True News.